Okay, so tonight we are going to do a quick update for Wade Stene. My name is Sherry Easton. I'm the advocacy director for a nonprofit organization called Survivors Fighting for Change Foundation. So we advocate for victims of CSA, child SA. It's hard to say too much because I know YouTube is picky with some of this stuff, but Wade Steen is somebody that we've been following for a couple of years now. And I'm just going to give a quick breakdown of his history, what he was charged with and convicted of, sentenced to, and just a quick update of kind of where he is today. So, convicted sex offender Wade Steen sentenced to 15 and a half years in prison for the March 2020 kidnapping and essay of an 8-year-old girl. So the Edmonton Courts of Queen's Bench Justice Susan Richardson handed down her sentence, calling Steen's crime planned, predatory, and brazen. There's a lot of details in this article. This is an article that I'm pulling from CBC. Yeah, CBC News. So there's a lot of details regarding the actual offense. I'm not going to go into any of that. I'm just going to stick with some of the information that's more relevant. So Steen pled guilty to kidnapping, sexual assault, and sexual interference in February of 2022. So this was 1 month before his jury trial was due to begin. The judge did give him credit for his guilty plea because it spared the girl and her parents from having to testify. But the judge rejected Steen's apology made in the court as any true expression of remorse. During sentencing arguments, the Crown sought a 20-year sentence, while Steen's lawyer was asking for a 10-year sentence. The judge gave Steen credit for time already served. Steen's bail was denied after he revoked it and then reapplied for it. So I submitted a petition to the court shortly after he revoked his bail because he can reapply for it. In the event that he did reapply, and he did, they denied that request. So he remained in remand until his trial or until he made his guilty plea and was then sentenced. So all that time that he spent in there was then deducted. And of course, they count that as time and a half. So for every day he was there, they would deduct a day and a half off of his sentence. So he gets credited a day and a half. So that worked out to 3 years and 7 months in total. So that will be deducted from the 15 and a half year prison term that he was sentenced to. No sentence would have satisfied us. No amount of time will fully heal the harm that has been inflicted, the victim's father said in a written statement. And how true is that? Unfortunately, these types of crimes affect children more so when they become adults, as opposed to when they're still children. The nice thing is this family supported this girl in reporting. They believed her. They did everything right, and I'm sure that she's getting proper counseling and treatment for her abuse, which is so important for victims, especially children, to make sure that they're getting the right supports and help, and that the people that they trust most, their parents, family, friends, support them and believe them when they're making these reports. That goes a long way in allowing them to heal, and it will, I'm sure, help her later on in life as well. Hopefully, she won't be as negatively affected by her trauma. So it's really nice to see that she had all the support that she needed, not only from her parents but also from the community. The community really rallied for this family, which was great. A lot of people really cared about this case. There was a lot of stuff that happened that shouldn't have, and a lot of extra unnecessary stress for the community because it was made public and the location was made public and so on and so forth. But as a result, his bail, I guess, was revoked. And now we're here. There was enough attention on this case that the courts definitely took this very seriously to hand down a 15-and-a-half-year sentence. That's probably one of the longest sentences I've seen in the last couple of years be handed down in Alberta for these types of offenses. So that's good. The father said that no judgment will fully protect the community that we all live in. So yeah, eventually Stene will get released on good behavior. That means he could only serve 1/3 of that sentence, which means he could be out a lot sooner than the 15.5 years. Richardson, so the judge, said one of the reasons for the length of the sentence imposed is to protect the public from Stene. Mr. Stene poses a grave risk to the public, the judge said. His actions were planned, deliberate, predatory, and calculated. I agree with this 100%. What concerns me about that statement is that he was initially released on bail. Yes, he had a surety. His surety was his mother, who he had already lived with at the time that he committed the offense. So it was nice to see that his bail was denied the second time after he revoked it. However, it's concerning that he was granted bail to begin with, and that he was not only granted bail, but granted bail back into the same community as the victim, right around the corner from her, which is what created so much of that uproar and chaos. So once Stene is finished serving his sentence, he will not be allowed to be around anyone under the age of 16 unsupervised. He'll also be placed on the sex offender registry for life. So that will be a lifetime sentence on that, which is nice because the judge does have the option to set that for a set period of time or to not even issue it at all. There's no requirement to actually be listed on it. It's all up to the discretion of the judge, and for how long you're listed on it is also up to the discretion of the judge. So the fact that they did order that and that they did order that for life is really nice to see. On a side note, he does have the option to appeal that at some point. I know generally it's halfway through that time period. So say they ordered it for 10 years. After 5 years of being on that registry, you can apply to be removed from it. So for a lifetime sentence on that registry, I don't know if that's still an option to apply to appeal. I would assume it is. And I don't know how that works as far as how much time they have to be listed on it before they can actually apply to appeal it. So that's a question that I'll have to do some research on, just so I can better understand that and how that works in that system. We do know that Wade is in a medium security facility in Alberta, and we do know that he's not in protective custody. He is in general population. So contrary to popular belief, I know a lot of people are under the impression that offenders with these types of crimes or convictions are always protected by the system and put into protective custody. That's not always the case. From what I've heard, Stene's actually in a cell with Levine, who's another offender known to Edmonton. He was, I believe, convicted of voyeurism, but I would have to look into that one a little bit more. But he's had a couple convictions. I believe he's got a record in Edmonton as well. So not all offenders are put into protective custody. I would like to assume that the ones that are probably very mentally ill in other ways or are very high profile. So generally the high profile offenders that we see who are convicted of these offenses don't actually serve any jail time. For example, Rodney Bigger, right? So 1 year probation with 2 victims that were known to him. So it's one of those things that it's nice to see that in this case, there's jail time. He's not, um, separated from the rest of the population. He's serving the same time that every other criminal who's in that facility is serving, and everybody in that facility knows who he is and exactly what he's done. So, just wanted to give everybody an update, remind everybody who Wade Stene is, what he is capable of. Please take the time to educate your children, educate yourselves. Let's start having those conversations. There's lots of resources available to help parents do this in age-appropriate ways. We don't need to get too detailed. We don't need to scare children, but we definitely need to start having those conversations with them about community safety, body boundaries, telling, reporting. We need to make sure that we make our children aware that we will believe them, we trust them, right? Trust is love. So we love our children, want to believe our children, and we want to make sure that they know that we'll believe them no matter what. We want to make sure that they understand um, authority figures, expectations and rules for authority figures, right? Adults have rules too. Adults have expectations. So this is what your teacher can and can't do. This is what your coach can and can't do. This is what you should do if somebody, breaks your body boundaries, your body trust, stuff like that, makes you feel uncomfortable, or doesn't listen to you when you do speak out. That's something that children need to be educated about. They need to be told, they need to tell if they are concerned or if somebody isn't listening to them or does something wrong. And then parents need to have those conversations with children, when they come home from school, when they come home from camp or a friend's house or um, football practice, whatever it is. Did you have fun today? Did everybody respect your body boundaries? Did anybody make you feel uncomfortable? Did anybody, whatever? Have those conversations. Just ask some questions. Ask for context. Start opening up those doors for children to have those conversations back with you. So that way, when something does happen, they feel much more comfortable sitting down with you and having that conversation because you've had it with them so many times before already. So keep your children safe, guys. Like I said, do your research. We have copies of free information packages. If anybody would like copies, you guys can send us an email. So that is survivorsfighting@gmail.com. I'll just put that on the bottom of our screen here real quick. Yeah, so you guys, send us an email. We'll get you copies of those information packages, just a bunch of information, resources for protecting children online and in the community, a list of children's books that are written by experts that are available on Amazon and multiple bookstores that you can take a look at, purchase those. They're great for young children, I believe probably about 4 up to about 12. They say as soon as your children are able to start talking and identifying body parts that you should start having conversations with them about body boundaries and teaching body safety. So definitely do some research and familiarize yourselves with that, and let's start being a little bit more proactive to help prevent some of this abuse. So we know most abuse is done by somebody known to the victim. Unfortunately, in this case, it wasn't. So it's not the norm. I know people assume that is kind of the norm when you see these cases. It actually isn't. A little bit more difficult to prevent, but definitely something that we can all work towards in order to help change enough so we can help protect children a little bit better. Like I said, I'm very proud and happy for this family for all their support and doing everything so right in advocating for their daughter and supporting her in everything so she can report this and deal with this. Because if Wade Stene had have been left on the streets and had have gotten away with what he did to this poor girl, I I personally believe, and this is just my personal belief, I don't have any facts to back this up, but I believe he wouldn't have stopped. So I'm grateful that he's in jail and that he is off the streets. He is not in that community And we pray that this little girl heals, and we send love and hope her way. So just wanted to say that, give everybody an update. Uh, Sometimes justice is served. It isn't always for nothing, and it's important for victims to speak out and report. And what this little girl did proves that with the right support and help, is um, it is worth doing, and it can be rewarding in some aspects. So have a great night, everybody. If anybody has questions or wants any information, like I said, reach out to us by email. We're happy to provide what we can and help in any way that we can. Great. Have a good night.